Schools of thoughts in criminology. 1. Pre-classical school of criminology. The period of 17th and 18th century in Europe was dominated by the scholasticism of Saint Thomas Aquinas. The dominance of religion in state activities was the chief characteristic of that time. In political sphere, thinkers such as Hobbes and Locke were concentrating on social contract as the basis of social evolution. The concept of divine right of king advocating supremacy of monarch was held in great esteem. As scientific knowledge was yet unknown, the concept of crime was rather vague and obscure. There was a general belief that man by nature is simple and his actions are controlled by some superpower. It was generally believed that a man commits crime due to the influence of some external spirit called demon or devil. Thus an offender commits a wrongful act not because of his own free will but due to the influence of some external superpower. No attempt was, however, made to probe into the real causes of crime. This demonological theory of criminality propounded by the exponents of pre-classical school acknowledged the omnipotence of spirit, which they regarded as a great power. The pre-classicals considered crime and criminals as an evidence of the fact that the individual was possessed of devil or demon, the only cure for which was testimony of the effectiveness of the spirit. Worships, sacrifices and ordeals by water and fire were usually prescribed to specify the spirit and relieve the victim from its evil influence. An ordeal is an ancient manner of trial in criminal cases. When an offender pleaded not guilty, he might choose whether he would put himself for trial upon God and the country, by 12 men or upon God only, and then it was called the judgment of God, presuming that God would deliver the innocent. Examples of such ordeals are throwing into fire, throwing into water after tying a stone to his neck, administration of oath by calling up God's wrath, trial by battle, etc. 2. The classical school. The classical school in criminology is usually a reference to the 18th century work during the Enlightenment by the utilitarian and social contract philosophers Jeremy Bentham and Cesare Beccaria. The classical school of criminology, championed by Italian attorney Cesare Beccaria, embraces concepts and theories of crime based on these 4 basic ideas. Individuals have a free will to make choices and to act on their own accord. People will generally seek pleasure and avoid pain, and they will rationally calculate the cost versus the benefit when choosing to commit an act. Punishment can be used to deter crime, and the severity of the punishment must be proportional to the crime itself. The swiftness and the certainty of the punishment is the most important factor in deterring crime. 3. Positivist School. The Positivist School suggests that there are other factors at work in deviant behavior besides simple pleasure-seeking and pain avoidance. Positivism supposes external and internal factors that may be beyond the control of the individual. This includes biological, psychological, social and environmental causes. The Positivist school was the first to apply the scientific method to the study of human behavior. This served to advance the field of criminology as an accepted and respected scientific discipline. One of the earliest and best-known proponents of positivist, though, Cesare Lombroso, looked at physiological features of criminals such as the shape of their skulls and the height of their cheekbones to suggest that biology may precondition certain people to tend toward criminal behavior. This, of course, has long been discredited, but the positivist school's belief that a study of crime must include the environment in which the crime occurs remains relevant. 4. Chicago School. Also known as the ecological school, the Chicago School was first developed during the 1920s in the sociology department at the University of Chicago by the work of Park and Burgess. This school of thought advanced the idea that human behavior was, at least partially, determined by social structure. It takes into account psychological and environmental factors in seeking to determine the causes of deviant behavior. The Chicago School notes that human beings adapt to their environment. A destructive social environment, such as community poverty, for instance, leads to a breakdown in the social structure. This environment both hampers the ability of a society to deal effectively with the crime that results and fosters a criminal mentality in the community that drives crime within it. Biological explanation. Biological explanations focus on genetic predisposition toward deviance. Biological explanations include the following 3 theories. 1. Body type. People with squarish, muscular bodies are more likely to commit street crime, mugging, rape, burglary. 2. XYY theory. Extra Y chromosome in males leads to crime. 3. Intelligence. Low intelligence leads to crime. In 1876, Cesare Lombroso, an Italian physician, compared 400 prisoners with 400 army soldiers. He proposed that criminals had distinctive physical features: low foreheads, prominent jaws and cheekbones, protruding ears, excessive hairiness, and unusually long arms. All these features taken together, the criminals resemble ape-like ancestors of humans. They are genetically abnormal. This theory has flaws. For example, Lombroso's study sample is not representative of the general population. His focus was on comparing the declared criminals with the army soldiers. How about those criminals who committed crime but have never been caught? Also, criminals may have abnormality because of poverty and malnutrition. These are class-based characteristics and not criminal characteristics. Sheldon, 1949, suggested that body type may predict criminality. He cross-checked hundreds of young men for body type and criminal history, and concluded that criminality was most likely among boys with muscular, athletic build. There appears to be no conclusive evidence. Despite such researches, genetic researchers are still seeking links between biology and crime. Regarding the chromosome theory, it has been found that most criminals have the normal XY chromosome combination. So they are not different from those who do not commit crime. Therefore, this could not be the reason. Similarly, most men with XYY combination do not commit crime. Hence, having an extra Y does not necessarily lead to a person to criminal activity. Furthermore, no women have this combination of genes, so there should be no women criminals. But that is not true. Such an explanation based on XYY chromosome combination is not acceptable.